So Dave Horrocks, Talent Hub and Development Centre coach in Moss Side for United for over 20 years, coach at Fletcher Moss Rangers for over 35 years. Thank you very much for joining. You okay?
I'm good. Myself? How are you?
Very well, thank you. Not too bad. Not too bad. Because I get to chat to you about Mr. Danny Welbeck, one of my absolute favourite people around Carrington ever. Legend of a lad. Um, I only got to know him once he turned pro. You knew him from way before that. Do you mind telling us the first time you ever laid eyes on Danny?
He came to us really more as a supporter of his brother Wayne, because
Yeah.
Wayne was playing for us. And at that time, there was no organised football for kids of that age. So Danny would turn up with Wayne, join in the little football sessions that they had before the training sessions proper, and then end up kicking a ball about with whoever was there. He eventually, when he was 5 years old, he then came and joined in at the soccer school. He enrolled on the soccer school. Mum brought him and enrolled him on the soccer school, and we just we just did our training sessions that we did with all the kids, and he went to the soccer school. He we actually were able to get him to the Manchester United Saturday Soccer Club that was at the Cliff,
Mhm.
which was run by Eddie Leach. Um, Eddie's this got this affinity for seeing something in kids, and Danny was a big kid because he was first quartile kid anyway, so he was quite a big kid, quite an athletic boy, and he was always, because he'd been playing football with his brothers for a number of years, he was he was good at what he was doing. He was brave. He was confident to
Yeah.
be able to do things, whatever. And the Saturday Soccer School Club was actually very community based. It was a case that kids from all over the place came, and it wasn't as though they would put a 6-year-old with just other 6-year-olds. It was a case that whoever turned up, he was playing. It was very similar to, if you want, the cage down at Carrington,
Yeah.
where it makes no difference what age you were. You went down there, and if it happened to be Rio Ferdinand in the cage at the same time, and you as a 16-year-old kid, you would play against them. So Danny was always has always been playing with kids big as and bigger and older than him. So he was always one of those kids that could cope with whatever was thrown in front of him.
So going back there, you would have seen him even before he was 5 years old. Then was obviously
Yeah,
talent.
yeah.
So, did anything stand out about him then? Was it character or was it anything on the ball?
I don't, the thing that the sort of characteristics that we look for at the soccer school are more your socializing kids, the kids who are very sociable, the kids
Mhm.
who can mix with other kids. And again, because Danny was always round his brothers and always round Wayne's team and always round adults, he was always able to be communicative. He was always able to be sociable with everybody and always dead pleasant. And I don't think that's just of being around his brothers. I think that's because of how mum and dad always brought him up to
Okay.
be sort of respectful and be polite, please and thank yous, which is not always the thing nowadays as far as manners are concerned. But as unfortunately, the soccer school didn't take kids in that were younger than 5 years old at the time because we were still playing at it at the time. We weren't really. Um, we were still building what we'd got at that particular stage, and when he came, I think if I'm not mistaken, he came round about June of 1995. So he was just he hadn't. I don't think he was yet 5 years old because I think he's a November birthday. I think, and I think he was not yet 5 years old, but because of his his character, his ability, his stature, we threw him in with the 5-year-olds, and he was able to uh, carry it off. You know, he had no problems with it or anything like that. And the fact that he was as hungry as he was to play football, that's when mum or dad took him to the cliff on Saturday afternoon for the Saturday soccer club.
So when a 4-year-old's able to kind of assimilate with 5-year-olds and not look out of place, how does that manifest? What does it look like?
It's more than obvious how
Right.
it works. I mean, when you see that the you're looking at a group of kids and you see that they are you see there's nobody out of place. There's nobody shouldn't be there. There's nobody who is um, who, who yeah. There's nobody who shouldn't be there. If you think about that, if we get a 6-year-old, for argument's sake, who is very tiny, we don't think that it's going to be a good fit putting them in with other 6-year-olds. So we'll put them with the 5-year-olds. So we find their level. But if the 6-year-old is still small in stature, but is still busy putting themselves about, being aggressive in the right manner, then we keep them with the 6-year-olds because pushing them in with 5-year-olds is not going to challenge them. So we're always trying to challenge the kids so that they could be the best they could be. And you know, even if we've got a kid who's way out of his depth because of his own age, we've still got the facility to be able to drop them down until they are ready to move up to their own age group. I think that's one of the problems with football in this country at the moment because it is so rigid with the academic year, September to August. There's nothing in the system that allows for that relative age effect and the kid who is the late developer. Now, I mean, you think of Jesse, for example.
Yeah.
He was sort of held back and he was kept in the system because he was a late developer. And again, you've got to hold your hands up to people like Sir Alex, who was able to see that. When you've got the expertise of people like Sir Alex, who are able to see those things, then it's great. It's great as a coach to be able to, rather than throw the baby out with the bathwater, you know, be able to see that little bit extra.
You mentioned character as well. With Danny, one thing that always came through was he would light up a room, wouldn't he? He was a cheeky lad all the time,
Yeah, very
regardless
much so.
who was around. So was that always the case? Obviously, you've said he was
He could
respectful,
get
picked
away with
himself.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
He could get away with it, you know, because of that smile. You know, I mean, he'd go and nutmeg you, for example, and it was, you know, that smile as he's going away, and he'd call it, you know, and you go chasing after him, he'd be giggling, you know, you go and try and get the ball back off him, and it was, like you say, it was just a great, give it a great personality.
And obviously, he went on, had a strong career at United. A lot of his, well, the last, 11 years have been spent away from Old Trafford. But in terms of when you think back to his first team career at United, what memories jump straight to mind for you?
It all ended too soon, in my opinion. I think
Yeah.
that his record had shown that he could have still performed. Unfortunately, I think the downside is he's never completed a full season without picking up some injury of sorts. But I do believe, and not as the same sort of player, but I think Phil Jones had the same issue in so much as Phil Jones would try hard to do things that he should have reacted to first. Whereas Danny tried so hard to be proactive, if you see what I mean. He'd try and read things and he'd try and get there. And he'd probably pull up with a hamstring or he'd pull up with a groin strain or something because he was trying really, really hard to not necessarily impress other people, but be the best he could possibly be. I mean, Mike Glennie had a little adage that he always used with us to try and spur us on to get to challenging the kids. And we would use it with the kids in saying, we want you to be the best person both on and off the pitch. And you can say that about Danny. You can say
Yeah.
that because with hand on heart, you can say that with Danny because off the pitch, he is a true gentleman. He's somebody who will let on to you. He won't sort of ignore you. If he's got something else on and he's busy, he will say he's busy, but he will come back to you. So I think if I'm not mistaken, I might have some photographs of him at one of our presentations at the university. And at that presentation, there was Cameron Stewart was there, Antonio O'Brien was there, and he was spending time with the kids, having photographs with the kids. Because he was still a youth player at that stage.
Yeah.
But it was one of those where he would spend time.
Just a top guy, isn't he? I mean, you said earlier he lets on when you see him. I believe was that the case when after Brighton's win at Old Trafford last season, he let on when he saw you.
Yeah. I mean, where I was sat at the time, we're three seats away from the away dugout, which
Yeah.
obviously used to be the home dugout, and he was sat along the row that continued from where I was sat, and it was a couple of seats in, and as we were getting out, he was picking his gear up, and I just sort of let on to him, Danny, how are you doing? And as he looked up, he came to me and he gave me a hug, which he didn't have to do. He could have just given me a five and just went on his way. But, and I actually said to him, love to the family, hope to see you soon. And, he said, same to you and see you later. And obviously I didn't say to him, good game.
Yeah. Yeah, they've had enough of them. Well, it's a pain in the backside for United, isn't it? The number of goals he's
Oh,
scored
yeah.
against us
Yeah.
consistently.
Well,
Go ahead.
imagine the day that Marcus scored his two against Arsenal
Yeah,
and Danny scored the other goal for Arsenal.
yeah.
I
And
imagine
Jesse
how I
was playing.
felt on that particular day. I was actually in tears. The people that were around me were slapping me across the head and saying, grow up, you silly old man, shut up. And because I was that emotional about it, it was one of those fantastic days.
So you said 1995 was probably
Ish,
around
yeah. Yeah. I think it
oh,
was
ish. So
June or July 95.
yeah, so either way, it's over 30 years ago. He's had a long and very successful career since then. So when you see him scoring in the Bernabeu for United, or picking up the Premier League trophy, or scoring against United, or exactly as he constantly does for Brighton and has done for Arsenal, what does it make you feel?
Well, like say proud, really proud. It's dead easy to say proud. It's it's humbling as well, knowing what a nice kid he is as well, and knowing that he's still got time for his family. And I think he's got very moralistic priorities.
Right.
I do. I think that he's got very high morals, a very high standard of his own personal um, challenges, and how he will always be a hard work. Because we always used to say at United that nothing replaces hard work, not even talent replaces hard work, and no matter what, even at his age, he's still having to work hard at
Yeah.
what he does. A lot of younger lads want to take his place, but to still stay as being there, if you want, their number nine, their go-to guy, has got to show a lot of hard work.
Brilliant. Dave, thanks so much. Really appreciate your time. And yeah, thank you, gentlemen.